Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why the very people you thought would stand with you were the first ones to walk away? Isn't it strange how loyalty seems rare, even among those you call friends? The truth is, no one truly belongs to you, and no one owes you loyalty. When you expect people to be your anchor, you will often end up sinking with disappointment. But when you understand why no one is your real friend, you free yourself from false expectations and step into the power of living without dependency. Today, let us unlock that truth together. The myth of friendship is one of the greatest illusions many of us live under. We grow up thinking that because someone laughs with us, eats with us, or walks with us, they are automatically for us. But isn't it true that the same people who smile with you today can turn their backs on you tomorrow? We confuse familiarity with loyalty and closeness with commitment. Just because a person is present in your life does not mean they are present in your heart, and that is where so many of us get hurt, betrayed, and disappointed. Friendship is a word society has watered down. We use it loosely, calling almost anyone a friend. But how many of them would truly sacrifice for you? How many would fight for you when storms rise? Most are simply there for the benefits, for the convenience, for the access. And the moment the benefits stop, their so-called friendship fades away like smoke in the wind. Have you not noticed that some people are attached to you only as long as you are useful to them? Once your light dims, their presence disappears. That is the myth, the dangerous illusion of friendship. We often place unrealistic expectations on people, believing that because we give love, they will return it. Because we stand with them, they will stand with us. But human nature doesn't work that way. People are driven by their own needs, their own survival, their own interests. And when loyalty collides with self-interest, guess which one wins? That is why betrayal cuts so deep, because it comes from the ones we thought were safe, the ones we thought would never change. Yet, it teaches us one of life's most sobering lessons, that not everyone walking with you is truly walking for you. So my question is, how do we live in a world where the myth of friendship surrounds us? The answer is not to become bitter, not to close your heart, but to become wise. Stop expecting permanence from people who were only meant to be temporary. Stop holding on to seasonal relationships as if they were eternal. When you learn this, you set yourself free. Free from the chains of false expectations, free from the pain of unnecessary disappointments, free to see people for what they are, not what you want them to be. But here is the challenge, and here is where the myth becomes dangerous. When you believe everyone around you is your true friend, you drop your guard, you let your defenses down, and you open yourself to wounds that may take years to heal. Some people are not enemies, but they are also not true friends. They are simply associates, companions for a journey, not anchors for your destiny. And if you fail to discern the difference, you will confuse association with relationship, and that confusion will cost you. So let me leave you with this. If friendship is a myth, if loyalty is rare, then where do we truly find trust? Where do we find the anchor that does not shift with seasons? That, my friend, leads us to the next truth. The reality that loyalty is not owed, it is chosen. Loyalty is not something you can demand. It is not something people owe you simply because you exist in their life. Loyalty is a choice. It is a decision of the heart. And until you understand that, you will keep living with unnecessary pain. So many people walk around with broken hearts because they assumed loyalty was automatic. They thought, if I am good to them, they will be good to me. But have you discovered that this is not always the case? People can enjoy your kindness, benefit from your generosity, and still turn their backs when tested. That is because loyalty is never a debt. It is always a decision. Think about it. The ones you expect the most from are often the very ones who disappoint you. Why? Because you assumed that relationship equaled commitment, that association equaled loyalty. But here's the truth. Not everyone with you is committed to you. Loyalty is proven only when it costs something. It's not in the smiles. It's not in the easy moments. It's in the storms, in the trials, in the pressure. Anyone can stay when the sun is shining, but loyalty is measured when the rain begins to fall. Have you noticed that some people disappear the moment standing with you threatens their own comfort? They withdraw when loyalty requires sacrifice. That is why loyalty must never be expected, because expectation leads to assumption, and assumption leads to disappointment. Instead, loyalty should be tested, proven, and recognized over time. Those who are loyal will reveal themselves not by words, but by actions. True loyalty is silent, steady, and unshakable. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need recognition. It simply stands. The problem with many of us is that we hand out trust like candy. We give loyalty to people who haven't earned it, and then we are shocked when they fail us. But listen, just because someone is close to you doesn't mean they are loyal to you. Closeness is not the same as commitment. Some people stay near only for what they can gain, and the moment the gain ends, the loyalty ends with it. That's why you must stop expecting loyalty from everyone. You will save yourself from heartbreak when you understand that loyalty is not common, it is rare, it is valuable, and only a few truly possess it. But here's the danger. When you confuse presence with loyalty, you will start building your life on shaky ground. You will lean on people who cannot hold you. And when the storms come, everything collapses, not because life was too heavy, but because you trusted the wrong support. So the question becomes, how do you tell the difference? How do you know who is loyal and who is not? The answer leads us into the next reality, that we must stop confusing association with true relationship. One of the greatest mistakes people make is confusing association with true relationship. Just because someone is around you doesn't mean they are connected to you. Presence does not equal partnership, and familiarity does not equal loyalty. How many times have you thought, this person is close to me, they must care about me, only to find out later they were never truly invested? Isn't it true that some people walk with you, but not for you? They may share your space, but they do not share your heart. That is the danger of confusing association with relationship. Let me tell you something powerful. Association is temporary. It is based on convenience. It is built on circumstance. People will associate with you because of what they see, what they can gain, or the position you occupy. But when that circumstance changes, when the gain is gone, when the light dims, the association fades. Relationships, true relationships, are different. They are rooted not in circumstances, but in commitment. They are not built on convenience, but on covenant. And that is why so many people are left broken, because they mistook association for commitment. Have you noticed that people can sit at your table, enjoy your food, laugh at your jokes, and still walk away the moment things get hard? They were never truly tied to you. They were tied to the benefits of being near you. This is why you must discern who is in your life for purpose and who is in your life for pleasure. Some are attached to your destiny, while others are only attached to your season. And if you fail to separate the two, you will keep investing your heart where only your hand was needed. Association is easy. It requires nothing, no sacrifice, no risk, no proof. But a true relationship requires presence in pain, loyalty in storms, and sacrifice when it costs. It is easy to stand with someone when they are shining, but who is willing to stand with you when you fall? Who is willing to lift you when the world turns its back? That is how you tell the difference. And until you learn this, you will keep giving relationship privileges to people who were only meant to be associates. Here's the danger. When you confuse the two, you lower your guard, you expect too much, and disappointment becomes inevitable. The moment you mistake association for relationship, betrayal becomes unavoidable. But if you learn to separate them, you protect your heart, you guard your purpose, and you recognize that not everyone who is near is truly with you. So let me ask you, if association is not relationship, if presence is not loyalty, then why do so many people stay close to you? What is it they are really after? That brings us to the next truth. Why people stay close only for their own interest. Have you ever asked yourself, why do some people stay so close to you, act like they are with you? But the truth is, they are only there for what they can get. People rarely stay in your life without a reason, and more often than not, that reason has little to do with you and everything to do with them. Many individuals are drawn not to your heart, but to your hand. They are not connected to your purpose, but to your provision. They are not loyal to you. They are loyal to the benefits that come with being near you. Think about it. Some people admire your success, not because they celebrate you, but because they want access to what you have. They may call it friendship. They may dress it in the language of loyalty, but the moment the flow of benefits dries up, they vanish. Have you ever noticed how certain people grow distant when you no longer serve their interest? They stop calling, they stop visiting, they stop showing up because the season that fed their appetite is over. Their connection was never to you as a person. It was only to what you could provide. And here lies the painful truth. Many people are not with you. They are with what you represent. They are with the opportunity you carry, the doors you can open, the protection you provide, or the influence you command. That is why the moment your season changes, their presence changes. You thought they loved you, but in reality, they loved what came with you. You thought they valued your heart, but they only valued your harvest. This is why discernment is so vital. You must ask yourself who in my life is truly for me and who is only for what I bring. Who is walking with me because of who I am and who is walking with me because of what I can give. If you fail to ask these questions, you will spend years investing in people who never plan to stay. And when their interest is satisfied, they will walk away without hesitation, leaving you empty, wondering what went wrong. But let me tell you, when you stop expecting loyalty from those who are only around for their own interests, you protect yourself from disappointment. You learn to release people without bitterness because you understand they were never really yours to begin with. You begin to value quality over quantity, depth over numbers, truth over appearances. And the fewer people who remain, the more you realize those are the ones worth keeping, because they prove they are not after what you have, they are after who you are. But this raises an even deeper question. If so many people stay only for their own interest, what happens when those interests collide with promises they made to you? What happens when words don't match actions? That's when we discover the real danger, the danger of depending on human promises. The danger of depending on human promises is one of the greatest sources of heartbreak in life. People will tell you, I'll always be there for you. They'll say, you can count on me, but when the weight of life increases, those words dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Isn't it true that some of the loudest promises you ever heard came from the quietest people when you needed them most? The danger is that we build our expectations on fragile words, forgetting that human promises are only as strong as human weakness. Have you noticed how easy it is for people to speak commitment when nothing is required? It costs nothing to say, I'll never leave you. It costs nothing to declare, I've got your back. But the true test of a promise is not in the speaking, it's in the keeping. And when storms rise, when sacrifice is required, many people suddenly forget the very words they once swore. That's the danger. You trusted their voice, but their actions could not carry the weight of their promises. This is why disappointment hits so hard, because you don't expect strangers to betray you. You don't expect enemies to abandon you. You expect loyalty from those who gave you their word. And yet, time after time, you discover that human words can be shallow, temporary, and fleeting. Not always because people intend to deceive you, but because human nature is fragile. Circumstances shift, pressures rise, and suddenly their promise to you becomes a conflict with their promise to themselves. And in that battle, most will always choose self-preservation. So what do you do when promises fail? You learn to value consistency over conversation, actions over assurances, fruit over words. Stop giving your heart to people just because they make you feel secure with what they say. Learn to test words with time. A promise is only as strong as the character behind it, and until character is proven, a promise is nothing more than sound in the air. When you depend on human promises, you place your life on shifting sand, and shifting sand will always sink. And here is the sobering reality. The more you depend on people to fulfill their promises, the more you set yourself up for heartbreak. But when you release people from your dependency, when you stop expecting humans to carry what only faith and wisdom can carry, you begin to live with freedom. You no longer measure people by what they say, but by who they prove to be. And in that freedom, you guard your heart from unnecessary wounds. But now the question arises, if human promises cannot be fully trusted, if people so easily break their word, then what is the difference between those who walk with you for convenience and those who are truly committed? That leads us into the next truth. The difference between companionship and commitment. There is a clear difference between companionship and commitment, but many people confuse the two. Companionship is about presence. Commitment is about sacrifice. Companionship says, I'll walk with you as long as the road is smooth. Commitment says, I'll walk with you even when the road is rough. Companionship enjoys the moments of laughter, but commitment endures the nights of tears. Isn't it true that many who call themselves companions disappear the moment life gets difficult? They loved the journey when it was convenient, but the minute it demanded something from them, they quietly stepped away. Companionship is often seasonal. It shows up when things are good, when you are celebrated, when there is something to gain. It's easy to find companions in success, in prosperity, in light. But commitment is proven in the shadows, in the valleys, in the places where there is nothing to gain but the weight of loyalty. Commitment is rare because commitment costs. It costs comfort, it costs convenience, sometimes it even costs reputation. That's why true commitment cannot be spoken lightly. It must be lived. How many people have sat at your table, eaten your food, shared your joy, but when trouble arrived, they found an exit? Those were companions, not committed ones. A companion enjoys the ride, but a committed one holds the wheel when you are too weak to drive. A companion shares the celebration, but a committed one stands in the courtroom, in the hospital, in the prison of your pain. Companionship thrives on what is easy, but commitment survives on what is difficult. Here's the truth. If you mistake companionship for commitment, you will constantly be wounded by people who were never meant to carry that weight. You will be disappointed, not because they betrayed you, but because you gave them a role they were never able to fulfill. You trusted companions as if they were committed, and when they failed, your heart was broken. That is why you must discern who is merely around you and who is truly for you. Not everyone who smiles with you is committed to you. The danger is that companions can feel so real, so present, so loyal in the moment that you build your expectations on them. But life will always reveal who is committed. Crisis will always separate the temporary from the true. And when you finally see the difference, you will understand that companionship may fill your circle, but commitment will secure your destiny. Companionship makes life pleasant, but commitment makes life unshakable. But here is the deeper challenge. If companionship and commitment are not the same, then how do you recognize the silent signals that reveal the truth about people? How do you see through the smiles, the presence, the words? That leads us to the next lesson. When silence reveals the truth about relationships, silence is one of the most powerful tests of any relationship, because when words are gone, actions, or the lack of them, will always speak. Isn't it true that you don't really know who someone is until you go through a season of silence with them? When you stop calling, do they call you? When you stop reaching out, do they reach in? When you fall quiet, do they even notice? Or does your absence reveal how little your presence truly mattered? Silence has a way of stripping away illusions, exposing who is genuinely connected to you and who was only there out of convenience. Many people can talk well. They can say all the right things. I'm here for you. I'll always support you. I've got your back. But silence tests those words. When the noise stops, when there is no benefit, when you have nothing to give, silence reveals the truth. You begin to see that some people were only loud because of what they could gain. But when the stage clears and the music fades, they disappear with the crowd. Silence unmasks intention. It shows you who was truly invested and who was simply entertained. Have you noticed that silence can feel louder than words? When you're hurting and the ones you trusted say nothing, do nothing, it echoes in your soul. When you needed them to stand by you and their silence became abandonment, that pain often cuts deeper than any insult. And yet silence is a gift because it frees you from false security. It opens your eyes to the reality that some people will never clap unless you're performing, and they will never speak unless they need something from you. But there is another side. Silence also confirms loyalty. The one who checks on you in quiet seasons, the one who notices your absence without you saying a word, the one who speaks encouragement when everyone else is silent, those are the ones who prove themselves. Silence filters the crowd, and in that filter, you discover quality over quantity, truth over appearances, reality over illusion. The danger is when you ignore silence, when you keep chasing people who have stopped chasing you, when you keep pouring into people who have stopped noticing your absence. That is how heartbreak grows when you invest in silence that already gave you its answer. Instead, learn to respect silence as revelation. Believe what it shows you. Don't fight it, don't excuse it, don't deny it. When silence speaks, it is telling you the truth words could never reveal. But if silence exposes the reality of relationships, if it reveals who is truly with you, then how do you move forward in a world where trust is so fragile? How do you decide who is safe for your heart and who is not? That question takes us to the next truth. Why trust should be tested, not assumed. A trust is one of the most dangerous gifts you can ever give, because once it is given, it places your heart, your secrets, and your confidence into the hands of another. And the truth is, too many people hand it out without proof, without testing, without discernment. Isn't it true that most of the pain you've ever experienced came from people you trusted too quickly? You believed their words, you believed their smiles, you believed their presence, only to find out later that they never had the strength to carry what you placed on them. That's why trust should never be assumed. It should always be tested. Testing trust doesn't mean you live in suspicion. It doesn't mean you walk in fear. But it does mean you guard your heart. You observe. You watch how people act when the spotlight is gone, when no one is looking, when there is nothing to gain. Do they still stand by you when it's inconvenient? Do they still keep your confidence when others are whispering? Do they still value you when you have nothing to offer? Those are the tests of trust. because trust is not proven in good times. It is proven in difficult times. You see, trust is not about what people say. It is about what they consistently do. Words can be sweet, but actions never lie. A person can promise you the world, but if they cannot be faithful in the small things, how will they ever handle the big things? That's why giving trust too quickly is dangerous, because once broken, trust is one of the hardest things to repair. Some of you are still carrying scars, not from enemies, but from friends who failed the test of trust. And here's the truth: when you assume trust, you hand over access without accountability. You allow people into the deepest parts of your life without first proving their intentions. And when they mishandle that access, it's not only painful, it can be destructive. Trust must be earned. It must be built. It must be measured over time. Just like a foundation must be tested before a building is raised, so too must people be tested before you place the weight of trust upon them. But here is where the danger lies. Many people don't want to test trust because they are desperate for connection. They would rather have company than safety. They would rather have presence than protection. And in that desperation, they end up giving their heart to the wrong hands. But if you want to protect your future, you must stop assuming trust and start testing it. The ones who pass the test, they are rare, but they are priceless. But then comes the hardest truth of all. What happens when even the ones you trusted, the ones who passed your test, still break your heart? What happens when betrayal comes, not from strangers, but from those closest to you? That takes us to the next reality, the hidden lesson behind betrayal. Betrayal is one of the deepest wounds a human heart can experience, not because it comes from strangers, but because it comes from those closest to you. Enemies cannot betray you, only friends can. Strangers cannot betray you, only those you trusted can. And that is what makes betrayal so painful. It is the breaking of confidence, the violation of trust, the shattering of loyalty from the very ones you thought were safe. Isn't it true that the greatest heartbreaks in your life did not come from the hands of those far away, but from the hands of those you once held close? But here is the hidden lesson. Betrayal, though painful, is a revealer. It exposes what was hidden. It unmasks hearts that pretended. It brings to light intentions that were disguised in smiles. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. It reveals who was never truly for you. Sometimes betrayal is not a curse. It is a blessing in disguise because it cuts away the fake, the shallow, the ones who would have held you back from your destiny. Without betrayal, you might never know who was real and who was just acting. Think about it. Betrayal teaches you more than loyalty ever could. Loyalty makes you comfortable, but betrayal makes you wise. Loyalty gives you peace, but betrayal gives you discernment. The sting of betrayal is often the very thing that sharpens your vision, that teaches you to test, to observe, to discern more carefully. So while betrayal breaks your heart, it also builds your wisdom. It forces you to grow. It teaches you not to confuse closeness with commitment or words with truth. And here is another truth. Betrayal is often the turning point that pushes you into your destiny. Some people had to leave you. Some people had to betray you. Some people had to walk away so that you could step into what you were truly meant to be. If they had stayed, their weight would have held you down. Their presence would have slowed you. And so, betrayal, though bitter, became the tool that freed you. It is painful, yes, but it is purposeful. But make no mistake, betrayal will always test your heart. The danger is not the act itself, but what it can turn you into if you are not careful. Bitterness, anger, hatred. These are the poisons betrayal tries to plant. If you hold on to them, you allow the betrayer to win twice. But if you learn the lesson, if you take the wisdom and release the pain, betrayal will no longer be your prison. It will be your teacher. But now let me ask you, if betrayal reveals so much, If it strips away illusions and teaches wisdom, how do we then move forward? How do we build life, knowing the reality of human failure, yet still needing connection? That brings us to the final truth, learning to build life without depending on approval. One of the greatest freedoms you will ever discover is learning how to build your life with depending on the approval of others. Because the truth is, if you live for people's approval, you will die by their rejection. Isn't it true that many of us spend years, even decades, waiting for someone to validate us, to clap for us, to tell us we are enough? And yet, the same people you are waiting on are often too busy chasing their own lives, their own dreams, their own applause. You cannot keep putting your destiny on hold, hoping for support that may never come. When you depend on approval, you live as a prisoner to opinions. You change your decisions, your actions, even your identity, just to keep others comfortable. You shrink yourself to fit their expectations. You silence your voice to avoid their criticism. You walk in fear of rejection instead of the boldness of purpose. But listen, approval is unstable. It shifts with moods. It changes with seasons. It is as fragile as human emotion. One day they love you, the next day they doubt you. One moment they cheer for you, the next they mock you. If your confidence is tied to that, you will live on a roller coaster of insecurity. You must decide to build without applause, to move forward without constant affirmation. Because the truth is, people don't always recognize greatness until it succeeds. They may not see your value while you are still building, but the absence of their recognition does not mean the absence of your purpose. Sometimes the greatest work is done in silence, without validation, without recognition, without approval. And when it manifests, the same people who doubted will suddenly claim they always believed. Have you noticed that history never remembers the critics? It only remembers the builders. The world doesn't celebrate those who laughed at the dream. It celebrates those who built the dream. So why waste your energy chasing the approval of people who will forget tomorrow what they applauded today? Stop living for their acceptance and start living for your assignment. When you break free from that need, you unlock courage, clarity, and strength. You realize you never needed their yes to move forward. You never needed their permission to rise higher. So hear this. True freedom begins the moment you no longer depend on who claps for you. Build your vision even if they criticize. Pursue your dream even if they doubt. Walk your path even if they leave. Because when it's all said and done, the only opinion that matters is the one that confirms your purpose, not the one that feeds your insecurity. And so I leave you with this. Stop living as a prisoner to people's approval. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces too small for your destiny. Stop waiting for someone to clap before you start moving. Build your life, pursue your vision, walk your path. Because the world doesn't need another copy, it needs the original you. And when you rise, when you finally step into your purpose, those who never clapped will be forced to watch what they could not stop.